Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live. We are live on Facebook every Monday at 6 p.m. And, of course, I'm the co-host of the show. We have Brother Edward McQueen, our host. He's just sitting back, chilling as usual, getting ready for the show, waiting for the intro to play.
Waiting for everybody to vote.
Waiting for everybody to vote. Exactly.
That's what we're waiting on. Waiting for everybody to vote. So good afternoon, good evening. 6 p.m. May 25th, 2020. And how many more days before we start really getting serious about voting? We'll let our guests tell you. But first, let's start off. Co-host April, we can start by paying tribute and paying homage and condolences and well wishes to our sick and shut in, and we have a lot of them around this area right now. Everybody's shut in, so they don't have to be sick, for this virus. Right? So we usually start with locally, alphabetically. We start with.
Well, we try to start alphabetically. We try. We always try.
Yeah. That's right. That's what I should have said that. Okay. Let's start with Ana. Okay.
Allentown.
Yeah. And our host, and you're going to help us if you like. We start with Bay Burr.
The Allsbrook community.
Yeah. Some of those communities we just have a name, but we're trying to catch all of them. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Georgetown, Choppy, Plantersville.
Burgess, Carver's Bay, Merle's Inlet,
yeah.
Wampy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little River.
Big River.
There you go. Longs, Loris. Yes, you can chime in anytime you want.
Anytime you want it.
Yeah. Green Sea.
Yeah. So Sister Etta Green out there, hope she's doing well.
She and her family, we hope they're doing well.
Yeah, she and her family, hope they're doing well.
Binkley area, Cool Springs,
absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, we have some viewers in Marion County as well. So Marion and Mullins, Rain, Centenary, Gresham, Britton's Neck, Friendship.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get straight down in the heart of Conway's Highway 501.
Highway 378, exactly.
Highway 378.
Yeah.
Let's spread out a little bit because we are global now. So we just go all the way to Washington, D.C., Virginia,
Florida,
Maryland,
North Carolina. Yeah. Texas.
They're listening.
Everybody's listening. New York, they're listening.
Absolutely.
Yes.
New York. The Brooklyn area.
Yes.
Okay. So we want to welcome everybody to the show, especially our viewers. Today we are I feel appreciative to have some our guests who are going to elaborate on something that we all should feel the same about, and that is the importance of voting. Okay, yeah. And first of all, and I want to say this, that this is paid political broadcast. We're not partisan.
Yeah, we're nonpartisan.
We are nonpartisan. Okay. So, and having said that, you'll let our guests introduce themselves, and if you would, the secretary or the chairman, the local Horry County chairman of the Democratic Party, Mr. Don Kahn.
Yes, I'm Don Kahn. I'm the chair of the Horry County Democratic Party.
Right.
And with me, I have go ahead, Lester.
Lester Litton Pryor, second vice chair of the Horry County Democratic Party and president of the Carolina Forest Dems.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really awesome.
And president of the Carolina.
Oh, there was an echo there. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's probably just feedback. It's okay.
I hear that.
It's okay. It's okay. I thought
Yeah.
I thought she was really trying to make a point.
She's saying it loud and clear.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
For sure, loud. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're so pleased to have you all as guests, and hoping our audience can chime in and type in some of your questions and comments as you listen to us, and let us know if we're coming in successfully, and if you have any issues receiving us, just send us a message. You can just type it in. I think on your right over there, I believe. I'm not sure, April, is that correct?
Yeah, if you just type in your comments, if you're watching through Facebook, we will see all of the comments that are streaming through.
Right. So, Don, let's start with you. Let's start with the basic importance, especially this election. Okay, this is going to be a very telling election, and if you can just kind of drive home to the pointers to the people who may be undecided or whatever you want to say about it, since this is being paid by the Democratic Party.
Sure. Well, actually, Lester is going to spend some time talking about that subject. So, Lester, why don't you start off, and then I'll chime in.
Okay. All right, I will. So often we talk about wanting a change in our communities. And to be part of that, we need to become the change in our communities. And we can do that by registering to vote. If we register to vote, we can elect the candidates that support our issues and will work on our behalf. In South Carolina, 60% of the Democratic electorate is African American. It is especially important that we keep these voters informed, keep them energized, and again, get them out to the polls to vote. In 2012, Black voters exceeded that of white voters for the first time in history, as 66.6% of eligible Black voters turned out to re-elect President Obama. We can do this again on November 3rd, 2020. It is rumored that the Republicans are going to spend approximately $20 million on efforts this coming election to recruit up to 50,000 volunteers in 15 key states to monitor polling places to challenge ballots and voters that they deem suspicious. This visibility tactic is to intimidate our voters, and that is why it is so important that our voters know that they have the right to vote and that they will not and cannot be intimidated by any tactics. Stacey Abrams said, "The way to overcome election meddling by Republicans is to overwhelm the polls with our presence." We can do this. The Horry County Democratic Party has a voter committee at work currently to register voters and to assist anyone who may have questions on how to register to vote, where to go. We also have a voter protection committee, which is in charge of our poll watchers, poll workers, and etc. And that's to keep our votes safe. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic fears, South Carolina has allowed absentee voting to use state of emergency as one of their usual reasons for absentee voting. But the state of emergency is only going to be used currently until the used for the June 9th hearing. To date, at least 25% of all known voter locations will be closed on primary day, June the 9th. To get possible change in polling places, you can go to scvote.org or to orydemocrats.org. I would suggest that prior to you going to vote, to please check either one of those sites to see if there's any change in your voting location. As an FYI, absentee voting has begun here in Horry County at the Horry County Voter Registration and Election Office at 1515 4th Avenue in Conway. In-person absentee voting will end on June the 8th at 5 p.m. I would suggest if you're voting to please wear a mask and carry your own pen for protection. And I would also like our voters to consider not being one issue voters. The reason why I said this is that you may be pro-choice, you may be pro-life, but your candidate is pro-choice, but you also support gun control, good schools for your children, affordable health, equality in pay. You want to keep Social Security and Medicare. So therefore, you have to not just use that one issue to determine who you vote for. You have to look at the bigger picture and not just one piece of the puzzle. And because this is a crucial election year, we need your help in getting out the information on election changes here in Horry County to our voters. We need volunteers to do phone banking, which is going to be very important, especially since everybody is quarantined during this pandemic. And we have our phone banking coordinator, also the voting committee co-chair. His name is Mike Leonard, and you can reach him at themikeleonard@gmail.com. He will answer any questions that you have, and he will welcome you to do phone banking and get you started immediately. For the November election, we need poll watchers. I believe that this late November election is going to be one of the most consequential elections in our lifetime. We need to have eyes on the ground to make sure we're safe and that our voters are not intimidated and they are not deprived of their right to vote. And as always, it's important that we register every voter we can that is unregistered here in the state of South Carolina and in Horry County. And it is important that we get informed, our voters, that they are informed of who our candidates are and who is more important about us getting what we need in our communities. And as I mentioned earlier, Horry County Democratic Party has a 2020 voter guide that gives information on voting and lists our Democratic candidates on the June primary and also our Democratic nominees running in November. So I would suggest, if you can, to please go to horrydemocrats.org to review the 2020 voter guide. And I think that's all I have to say. Don?
Okay, well, Lester, thank you. You've covered pretty much everything that most people need to know. I'm going to reiterate a couple of important points. With the COVID-19, it's making voting a challenge, but it's critically important. As Lester said, this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. It's important that we put people in office that care about us and the things that we need. And the good thing is that you've got options on how to vote this time. So yes, you can vote in person on June the 9th, but you need to check first where your polling place address is going to be. It may have changed. As Lester said, about 25% of all of our polling places have been shut down. So you may be voting someplace else. And it's important, if you're going to vote on June 9th, to check that at the last minute. So maybe the day before. And you can check it on either of the two sites that April has scrolling at the bottom here, or Democrats or SC Votes. Either one will give you your polling location. The other options you have is that you can go to absentee voting. Everybody this time can vote absentee. Doesn't matter. You use the reason emergency. And for that, you would go to the election office in Conway, 1515 4th Avenue in Conway, to vote between 8 and 5 p.m. There's also a date, June 6th, a Saturday, where you can vote between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. So those are two options. The third option is that you can get a mail-in ballot. Now, if you're going to get a mail-in ballot, my option is that you start on it immediately. You have two ways of getting your application, which is the first step of this process. You can either go to scvotes.org if you have a computer and a printer, and you can put in your information for an application. Once you get the application, you print it and you fill it out and you mail it in. The election office will then send you back the ballot. You then fill out the ballot following all the directions and send that back. Because it's 2 steps, it's critically important that you start that process as soon as possible. If that's what you want. So we have mail-in. That would be the safest method to go. You have absentee in Conway, or you can go on June 9th at a place that's may not be your regular place to go, probably closer to your home. So you have the choices. Now, if you go to either of the locations to vote, either Conway or near you, make sure that you are safe, whatever that means to you. Now, the government has provided some guidelines. We suggest that you follow them. So you probably want to bring your own pen so that you don't have to use somebody else's pen. We suggest that you wear a mask. We suggest that you bring your own hand sanitizer and gloves with you. So those are important things to think about. But before you do that, what you should do is get ready. So you go to scvotes.org and you look at your voting information. So first thing you want to do is make sure that the address that is in scvotes.org matches exactly the identification that you are going to use at the polling place. If it's different, then you need to call either the election office, or you need to change your driver's license, whatever. But you need to do that as soon as possible, because if there's any difference, even if you live in an apartment and you moved from apartment 1 to apartment 16, that will be enough for them to say that you cannot vote. So you need to make sure that those work exactly. You can get a sample ballot there. You can find out where you're going to be voting. But again, that could change again. It's been updated, but that could change again before the election, because maybe other workers will be out and they have to close down more places than they've already closed down. So again, check location if you are going on the 9th the day before. Voter registration really never stops. So if you are not registered now, you cannot vote June 9th, but you can vote in November. So my recommendation is, if you're not registered, register now, get it done, and be ready to go forward in November. We really need to get everybody out to vote. Who's on running for office? We are in Horry County. Everybody is voting for District 7 U.S. House of Representatives. That's the seat that Tom Rice has right now. We have 3 Democrats running, and you can pick between Melissa Watson, Robert Williams, and William Williams. And we've got information for those candidates on our website, so you might want to check our website to see. Depending on what district you're in, you may have other people that you can vote for. Again, my suggestion is to look at your sample ballot on scvotes.org. I've been talking for a while. Ed or April, do you have anything you want to know about?
I think yeah, go ahead, Edward.
Yeah, I just want to touch bases on the mail-in voting. That seems to have become controversy, especially on a national basis, from what I've listened at the news, Don. Do you foresee that as an issue in South Carolina?
Well, most of it, I think, have heard them say that it's not a good way to vote. It's not safe, whatever. I have to tell you that the military has been using that means to vote for forever. Personally, I remember voting the first time in 1972, and I was in the Air Force at the time and voted by mail, the first time I ever voted. So it is safe. It works. It's just that because the mail takes time, You've got to get in there, get it started early, get the application, and then get the ballot and get the ballot back soon. The only thing I know about that involved voter fraud actually happened in North Carolina in the last election cycle, and it was Republicans who carried out the fraud. And what happened there, and this is a good warning to anybody who's going to do a mail-in ballot, people were approached by somebody that they did not know and they were told that this person could take their ballots and send them in for them. Don't trust anybody that you do not know to take your ballot. Make sure if you need help with it, that it's somebody that you know and that you trust. But that election was actually overturned, and a new election was carried out in North Carolina. But again, that was Republicans.
Do you all have an idea of what the voter turnout looked like for the last presidential election, as far as the South Carolina Democratic electorate? I think it's an interesting statistic that 60% of the electorate is African American, and of course, we have some issues in terms of turnout with within our community. I'm sure various reasons that we all discuss, or even I guess kind of, I don't want to say assume, it's a hard word, but we know that there are reasons why people don't always vote, especially in the primaries and even local elections and things like that. But I feel that it would be extremely important to make sure that our minority population, and particularly the African American community, is reached and prompted and pushed to make sure to show up at the polls for the primaries and then also the general election. So what has the Horry County Democratic Party been doing to make sure that that message is really strong in the African American community?
Well, Lester, you want to take this, or you want me to take
it? We're trying to reach as many people as we can. Some of our churches have done voter registration Sundays, one Sunday a month, to register our voters in our sanctuary. Others have gone out on voter registration drives at certain events that happen in the community. What we would like is if anyone is having a event in the community.
It's got a little bit of lag or delay.
All right, let me cover that.
And go ahead and cover that, Don, until she comes back. Mm-hmm.
And then,
okay, so we've been calling as many people as we can. We started calling people that were in districts that where the polling places had moved, and we wanted to let everybody know that. We've also started calling every person that we possibly can now. That is a registered Democrat, and letting them know that they need to get out and vote.
To come and register to vote. It's kind of.
Edward, you want to send her a text and just let her know that it's got a lag?
I'll send her a text.
Go ahead, Don. Go ahead, Don.
Having difficulty now.
Yeah. So I think well, it's important for all communities to get out and vote, but particularly the African American community, because we politicians need to get out and start doing more for minority communities. And the way to do that is for them to see that there's an overwhelming amount of votes out there, and that will direct them. You've heard in the past that politicians do a lot for older people because older people vote. Well, the more African Americans that get out there to vote, really influence things.
Yeah, hold on just a moment.
Go ahead, Don.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, so we've been making calls. As Lester said, we came out with a voter guide that pretty much includes everything that we've talked about today, and we've offered that to churches to supplement what they're doing, and we give it out to every group that we possibly can.
Okay.
Lester, anything you want to add?
I was also going to ask.
I think that's it. We just need people. We just need people to remember how important it is, not only to register, but we need them to get out and vote. It's all right to say, oh, I registered, oh, I've done this, oh, I don't want to vote, but it is important. Our votes are valuable. And we need everyone to know that your vote counts.
What is the party doing to? I think she still has a little bit of lag. What is the party doing to reach the younger voters, the new voters, and also those voters who are probably between the ages of 18 and 25? Is there anything special or specific you're doing?
We have a Young Democrats group that is they're more focused. I mean, we try to reach everybody, but they're more focused on trying to reach that group, and it's important for everybody to understand. For especially young people that are eligible to vote for the first time. If you're going to be 18 by election day, you can vote. You can register to vote right now, and you will be able to vote in November. If you haven't registered yet, it'd be too late to vote in June. But also people who have served their time as felons and are now released. They can re-register. They have to re-register, but they can vote. And the same with somebody who has been incarcerated but has not been convicted. They can vote by mail. So, almost everybody can vote. They just need to take advantage of and responsibility for that vote.
And when's the deadline for them to be able to do this?
Well, to register, it's too late to register for the election in June.
In June.
But 30 days before the November 3rd election would be the latest to register for that election. So they've got plenty of time. But my recommendation, like everything else, is don't put it off, get it done. But the most important thing I'd like to come back with and finish with is get out and vote on the 9th. Go to Conway if you want to do it between now and the 8th of June. And if you're going to mail in, start it today.
So get to this mail in again. I don't know, I'm a little up in on that. And that's because, I know you mentioned that fraudulent activities have been done regarding somebody giving their vote to somebody to take to the recipients or the mail box or whatever it's supposed to take it to. But what have you all been doing to ensure that those kind of things can be circumvented right now and not happen?
Well, we don't touch the ballots, so there isn't a whole lot we could do except to educate people to know that they need to work directly with the county and the state election boards, and that we understand that some people, especially if they get elderly or if they're disabled, they may need help from somebody.
Right.
But if you're going to use help, make sure it's somebody that you know and make sure it's somebody you trust.
Wow. I was thinking on those lines
so,
that,
a relative that you trust or a friend.
Yeah, I was thinking on the line that if none of that criteria was met, no relatives or nobody that they can trust, and however critical the vote is, or how critical it is for that person to get out the vote, has anyone brought up the idea of maybe having some free transportation for people to take them to the polling place or something?
Well, as you know better than I, African American churches are very good at taking care of the transportation issue. But to supplement that, people can also call us, and we'll see what we can do. We do have some people who have volunteered to drive, and we'll be glad to reach out to them if they call our office on election day.
Okay. Sister,
before we go, could I just piggyback over something April said. It's about getting young people involved. If any young people are out there today listening, I would suggest that you become involved in politics. You may not like the idea, it may seem foreign to you, but become involved because it's your future. And if you become involved in politics, it's not only the general election, the presidential election, it's your local election, it's your school board. It's everything that's important to you in your life to come. If you're going to be 18 years old, vote. You can run for office. So think about this. Please become involved in the electoral process. It's important. It's vital. And I reach out to any young person. If you're interested, please contact the Horry County Democratic Party. We would love to have you on board to work with us to recruit other young people. So please keep that in mind.
So I do have one thing that I wanted to talk about, and it was breaking news today from the ACLU of South Carolina that all South Carolina voters will now have access to vote by mail. And of course, we've already talked about that, and won't need a witness to sign their ballot during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was stated on that post, it was a tweet, no one should have to choose between their health and their vote. So, from your perspectives, why is that particularly important, especially now? And I know that we've talked about, what people need to do to safeguard themselves when they go in, for example, for, in-person absentee voting. But, why do you want to press that issue or actually that concept more so than anything now?
Because people just need to be safe. I mean, if I don't feel safe, I'm not leaving my house for any reason. So people need to be safe. So it's important for them to know that they have the three options: to mail in, go to Conway for the time, for the next couple weeks, or go directly to a place near them on election day. So I think being safe could be a reason why people don't want to vote. And so the legislature, Democrats and Republicans, came together to allow more options this time to everybody. And it's only for this election. So it's an opportunity for people to get out, make their vote known, and do it in the safest way they possibly can for them. Whatever works for you is what you should use.
Do you foresee any other alternative methods of voting, coming to the surface before the November 3rd election? I know Brother Edwin and I talked about voting a few weeks ago, and the idea of maybe drive-through voting and a couple of other things that might make people feel, a little bit more secure in being able to go out and vote. Do you all have any insight in that as to whether or not these types of measures that are in place will carry through to November 3rd, and also whether or not there's anything else that's kind of on the horizon?
A lot is going to depend on where we are with this virus at that time. If it gets better, the likelihood of the legislature doing anything, I think, goes down. If it stays the same or if it gets worse, they may be in a position where they need to do something. There's a lot of pressure. It seems like a lot of Republican state legislatures, which South Carolina has one, have been very unlikely to make things easier for voting. And the fact that they did it this time, kudos to both parties for coming together. But I wouldn't count on it, and we're just going to have to watch. The South Carolina Democratic Party, along with the National Democratic Party, put in a lawsuit to try and get the law overturned. And the legislature actually worked on that before the case was decided by the courts. And I would not be surprised if they put in a lawsuit to change next time, but we don't ever know how a lawsuit's going to turn out. So it's tough to say.
Mm-hmm. Have you all had a lot of conversation with constituents about the paper ballot? I know some people are good with it. I personally think it's fine, but there are a lot of people who do not like the paper ballot, and some people have even stated that they don't want to vote because of that particular reason. What have you all been hearing as far as the party is concerned?
I have not heard anything, but I have voted with this new machine, and I have to tell you that that piece of paper comes out. When I voted, I took that piece of paper and I put it into the receptacle that takes it. So at no point did somebody else ever touch that paper ballot, and it is a way to ensure that my vote gets counted, because not only is it electronically in the system, but in addition to that, the paper ballot, if there has to be a recount, they can go back and the number of paper ballots should match and the results should match to what the computer is saying. Mm-hmm. So I am comfortable and confident that the process that we have in place works much better than what we had before. And we've got a backup system, which we didn't have before. And the other thing that's important for people that are concerned with things getting hacked and things like that is these computers, when they're in the polling places, are not hooked up to any other computers. So that means that they cannot be hacked while people in the process of voting.
Okay. There is a comment from one of our viewers. Thank you, Marlene Woodyard, for watching us today. Is there a way to put a group together that would be the designated group to call if you can't get your vote mailed out?
The best thing to do, I guess I'm not exactly sure what the concern would be. If you're having any kind of problem with a mail-in ballot, the best thing to do is to call the county election office in Conway. I have worked with them for the past 3 years, and they are always helpful to me every time that I make a call to them. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, well, earlier you mentioned the fact that there were issues with the polling places were shut down, like 25 were shut down in South Carolina. Is that correct?
In Horry County.
Horry County.
In Horry County.
25% have been shut down.
Oh, it was percentage number. Okay. So
and why was that?
Yeah.
Because of the COVID-19.
Because of COVID.
They couldn't get poll workers because of the pandemic. Poll workers, mostly of them are seniors.
Okay.
And there was a fair there. So that was one of the major reasons why.
Oh, okay.
Don? And you said that's why the polling locations have changed?
Yes, because there weren't enough poll workers to man all of the stations. And in addition to that, some of the locations did not want to have large groups of people coming into their locations.
Right.
Okay, so that's why it's important to go to that website to find out where your possible new polling location is. And then also, do you have a need for poll workers?
Well, the poll workers would actually work for the county. So I'm not sure that you could get a job with the county right now, and that is for those days that you're in training and working. But for November, they're usually looking for people. We have poll watchers that are responsible for watching what goes on and reporting back to us if there's any problems.
Okay, that's and maybe it was covered earlier, but it just maybe I glossed over it. But yeah, that would be particularly concerning to me, Brother Edward, that we might not have some of the traditional polling locations, and it's important that people understand, that they need to be in touch with Horry County, HorryDemocrats.org, or go to that website to find out about new polling locations, or like you said, go to the county registration office and ask the question, or if they're whatever they're voting, because that will cause a lot of confusion.
Absolutely.
And also increase the chances of I don't want to call it suppression, but the
lack of a better word,
for lack of a better word. But the feeling will be that there is some voter suppression if the message is not clear and consistent about the fact that these locations have changed only because of COVID-19. Also,
Right.
do you all have any additional concerns that maybe, let's say if we have a resurgence of the COVID-19 virus after everything is reopened and it becomes an issue for the June 9th election, what will happen? What will happen with the election if that occurs? And that's only a couple of weeks away.
Well, and that's why people need to consider what way they want to go vote. So one of your considerations in determining, do you want to go mail? Do you want to go to Conway to vote between now and June 9th, or do you want to go out on June 9th? Should be, what if, as you say, there's a resurgence and this virus comes back? As of right now, I don't see it, the election being canceled or postponed. People just need to factor that into their thinking.
I've got some feedback here from well-known Democratic sponsor, Democratic worker in Horry County. And this particular person says that poll closing is a major problem in Horry County and around the state. And some polling locations are refusing to allow Horry County Democratic Party into their building. And again, due to COVID-19, as Lester said. So that was just one of the comments from one of our viewers.
So it almost sounds like it's in our best interest to mail in a ballot, or if at all possible, just in case. And I want to be clear as far as what I may have said earlier. COVID-19 is definitely still here and alive and well. It hasn't gone anywhere. But what I was talking about was mainly an increase in the number of cases and deaths due to the reopening. So we'll be clear about that. We still have a COVID-19 emergency that is happening. It's just that we are moving because our we've now been implored to do so. We're moving forward with everything. So I just think that for the most part, we just need to figure out how to get that message out to people as much as possible.
Yeah, and again, Lester, if you want to say something about that.
First of all, before she says anything, how close are you guys working with the national Democratic Party and statewide to ensure that you can circumvent these kind of things that we predict that could happen, or making sure that they don't be interfered with, like someone is suggesting. Okay. So are you getting, unless it's classified response, are you getting major help from the National Democratic Party to address these kind of issues? Is it adequate?
I mean, in general, we get a lot of information from the National Party, but generally, they don't give us specific details on how to handle things like we have right now. So, the state party and the national party have worked to see if they could make some changes through the courts to make it safer. So, the legislature working together did that. I think because they saw the lawsuit out there, they wanted to get ahead of it. So yeah, it's usually what happens, and we're watching what's going on. But I would say the biggest thing is that the state party has been working with Stacey Abrams' group to where she's got that group that works against voter suppression, and we have a voter protection group at the state level where if we get notified of problems, we'll try and solve them for people at our level. But we've always got the backup of the state group able to help us, whether it's with attorneys or solving problems in whatever way may come up on election day. And we'll have a fully manned group at our office in Conway.
There was a comment. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Edward.
I just want to remind the viewers again, this is paid political broadcast. I mean, we're nonpartisan here. Okay, so go ahead, Eve.
Yeah, I'm going to mention a comment that was posted. If you could, since this is such a critical or has the potential to be a critical issue, could you please go over the mail-in ballot? Could you go over that process again? Just kind of step by step what people need to do if they choose to mail in their ballots.
Well, Lester, you want to cover that?
No, Don, you go ahead.
Okay.
I want you to do it step by step.
What they need to do is if they have a computer and a printer, they can go on to scvotes.org and they can request an application. The application they can print out right then and there. They complete the application, make sure you complete everything on the application, and then send it in to the Horry County Election Office. The election office will get that, and it will send a ballot out to you. You can actually monitor this process on the scvotes.org site. It'll tell you when the application was received, when it was requested, when the ballot was sent out, when it was received, and things like that. So you can kind of monitor through the whole process.
How long does that typically take, Don? How long does it typically take? Do you know?
Well, I'll just give you my example. So they couldn't start mailing these out until the 11th of May. I requested mine about a week and a half before that, but the earliest they could mail it out was May 11th. That was a Monday. I received it on Friday, I believe it was. So it took 5 days. Now, I printed mine and I got my ballot 5 days later. If you're not printing it, the process is going to take longer. So that's why I say it's important this week that you've got to start that process if you're going to do mail.
Okay,
right?
so you can print the ballot, or they can mail you one if you request. You print the application, and then you mail that in. You request the app. You request the application from scvotes.org. Then you send it in to the Horry County Election Office, that's in Conway, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And they're the ones who are processing your request for a mail-in ballot. So it's not going to Columbia or any place like that. Okay. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Right. They'll send it back to you. But if you don't have a computer and a printer, then what you need to do is you need to either go to the Conway office or call the Conway office. And that's a Horry County Voters Registration and Election Office. And they will send you an application. And, if you don't have a printer, but you do have internet access, you can check the status of that as it goes along. But I would wait maybe 4 days or so. If you don't receive it, call the office and find out what's
what
going on.
Can you give them a number?
You don't want to be in a position where you've gone through the process and
Do you have a number for them?
I can get it for you.
Okay.
I have it.
Okay.
843-915-5440.
I'll say that again.
843-915-5440.
All right.
Okay, so doing it this week is important because once we get into next week, if they get swamped with a bunch of requests, who knows, how much they can handle. They're probably affected by all of what's going on with these, with the virus also. They're probably undermanned. So my suggestion is get it done this week.
Okay. Well, how much more time we got? We got a few more minutes.
Just a few more minutes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So how it can just from logistics perspective, I guess. What how many offices do you have? You just have one office in Horry County Democratic Party. Is that just one office? Here
Yes,
is located.
it's located at 311 and Beatty Street in Conway, between 3rd and 4th. Yeah, and we're there. And right now, the office isn't open at all hours, but the phone is always working, and we'll answer your phone call quickly as we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So someone is always there, I presume. I mean, once you open, I mean, it's
Well, right now we don't have full hours because of what's going on with the virus, but we try and get in there so that we can answer calls 5 days a week.
To our viewers, we just want to let you know we do have a few more
But
minutes.
leave a message, we will get back to you. And there's always the election commission that you can call in the county.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you, April.
Okay, all right. To our viewers, we just want to remind you that if you have any comments or questions, especially questions for our guests today from the Horry County Democratic Party, please post them below. We have just a few minutes. They can answer questions. They've covered a lot today. It's a lot of information to take in and digest all at one time, which is why we were asking for some clarity on certain things, especially the mail-in ballot process. Because a lot of you may want to take advantage of that because we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 situation. If you're particularly concerned about your safety and not being able to navigate going to the actual polls, and you plan to, or you have situations that would cause you to be an absentee voter, this information is vital. It's very important for you to understand what you can do and the options that are available. And so, just, again, I have the phone number that's posted on the screen, 843-915-5440. If you would like to, if you have any questions or, need any guidance on that, they've given us some really good information today. Also, the website, scvotes.org for state voter registration records. If you have any questions or issues or things you're concerned about in terms of whether or not you are a registered voter, and you can definitely go to that website and find out what your voter registration status is. And then we also have HorryDemocrats.org. Considering the fact that polling locations are down 25%, as was pretty much discussed by our guest today, mainly due to the COVID-19 crisis, you will want to go to this website to find out what your new polling location may be. We're not, saying any particular location is not available. I don't know it for sure, but you can go to this website and find out if your polling location has changed, but also you can get some general education about voting and any other questions that you may have. So make sure that you all take note of these two websites, and then also that phone number for the Horry County Voter Registration and Election Office. Brother Edward, I'm going to look at the comments again one more time. And do you have anything else?
Yeah. Should there be any concern, Don, about, again, these people who are disabled, I'll just say, for example, and they don't have any means necessary, any kind of means of getting to vote. Okay. I mean, we do have people out there like that, right?
Absolutely. The thing to do there is, you've got the same options as everybody else does. Maybe it's a little bit more difficult for you. If you belong to one of the African American churches, your church is probably going to be providing rides. But if they are not, or if you want to contact us anyway, give us a call and we'll try you up with a ride. It's important that you get out there. Alternatively, keep in mind that on June 9th, because of all of these closings of polling places, it is possible that you could find long lines at the polling places that are open. And if you're disabled and you do decide to go to the polls, if you're able to walk in, then you should be able to, if you tell them that you have maybe some mobility problems, you should be able to go to the head of the line and not have to wait. But if you're really have mobility problems, can't get out of the car, they have to come to the car with a voting machine and let you vote from your car.
Okay. There was a comment posted by Cedric Blaine Spain. Of course, he is doing some tremendous work with the Horry County Democratic Party. Thank you so much, Cedric, for viewing the broadcast today. And he mentioned that Horry County Democratic Party, along with Bethel AME and Conway Social Action Commission, has drivers and others to assist with, the concern that we just recently raised. So he says that it's weekly, if not daily. You guys they're all talking about how to revise the grassroots efforts and compliance with CDC and the NIA. So call Horry County Democratic Party if there's someone, especially seniors and disabled persons who are in desperate need of getting their ballots in before the deadline. I've posted the phone number right there. And he strongly advises that a family member or friend assist them in respect of full transparency. So thank you so much for posting that. Just want to read it for everyone. And I think that, again, some great information that we've given today. And as Brother Edward mentioned before, we are nonpartisan. So that means that, this floor is open for, the Republican Party as well to come and talk about what they're doing to make sure that people understand, the process. And that's what we have concentrated on today, is the process and the alternatives and how to make sure that there is a strong voter turnout. And I think that our Horry County Democratic Party definitely wants people to understand that, especially in light of that percentage that was mentioned earlier. 60% of South Carolina Democratic electorate is African American. So we've got to do all we can to encourage the African Americans in and throughout South Carolina and other groups, everyone, to get out and vote. And it now more than ever is highly important. If you want to see change, you got to get out and vote. You got to make sure you cast your ballot.
Absolutely.
Before we go, could I just say one thing? This is
Absolutely.
Memorial Day, and I would like to thank our veterans. And I'd like to thank our active duty military families and the military men and women who are serving our country here and abroad, because freedom ain't free. There are those that made the ultimate sacrifice. And I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Agreed.
It is. Yeah, I agreed 100%. Well said. And please, everyone, remain safe as you celebrate or as you honor those who've given the ultimate sacrifice on this Memorial Weekend. I know that there are a lot of people who are out there with their cookouts and their family gatherings, and people celebrate in a number of different ways, but let's not forget the reason why this day exists. And also that we have to still be vigilant about safety in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis. So, Brother Edward, you want to thank our guests?
Yeah, and I thank you. We also want us to send out and not an alert, but just another echo saying that please be vigilant about observing the social distance rules, especially that. And I'd like to go as far to say that everybody should have a mask on, I think. And
I agree.
Please follow that, because the science that's been displayed clearly to me indicates that having a mask and the characteristics of this virus seemingly dictates that a mask is one of the few repellents of it, and continuous hand washing in addition to that. So I'd like to just make a plea out to everybody. I know you're having a cookout today, and you're having relatives coming over, but it only takes one person, to spread this thing. And then, now they're saying that it's even catching on to babies, okay, and little children. And Lord, if that ever becomes pandemic, we've had it, as a nation. So I just wanted to throw that out, and kudos to everybody who's really observing these rules that they've laid out. The experts have laid out for dealing with this virus. So more power to you. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said, Brother Edward. We come to you weekly with the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power to talk about topics that affect all communities. We have a particular interest and have made some particular initiatives and efforts to make sure that we're educating the African American community. And we just like to thank all of our guests, past, present, and future, who have added to the discussions that we've had, mainly because we're all living in these communities together, and it can't be a one-sided conversation about anything. So it's always good for us to impart some diversity whenever we are bringing in guests and talking about topics. So if you have any topic ideas, or if you have a particular interest and you have a particular expertise in that area of interest and would like to be a guest on our show, please let us know. You can be in touch with us through the website, wcmagazine.net. You can also leave us a message via the Facebook page, and we'll be in touch with you and would love to, talk to you about the things that interest you most, the things that you think our community needs to hear about. That's what we're here for. So just trying to empower and educate one another, right, Brother Edward?
That's it. April, just a couple other things, and we got time. Okay.
Oh, we have time.
We got time. Okay. Yeah, we got time. So I got this another comment from Brother Cedric. Again, working diligent in the political community in Horry County, and he's saying that the Horry County Democratic Party will have staging areas during the June primary and November election due to COVID-19, and will be pretty much working from the home, but the office will be open. And if you said that before, Don, then disregard it. But I didn't hear that, so he just made it clear, I guess.
No, Cedric always adds important information. So yes, we should.
The other thing is that we didn't mention the capital of Conway. So hey.
You know what? We saved the best for last. That's what we did. The capital of Conway is Sugar Hill. There you go, Sugar Hill. If you're watching Sugar Hill, thank you for viewing and listening to us every single week.
Thanks for having us.
Special place in my heart.
Thanks for having us.
Exactly. So thank you all so much. We really do appreciate it. Brother Edward, I don't know if we have a guest for next week. I think we're still trying to work on our show. We will have our very illustrious Sister Etta Green. Oh yeah, that is next week. Wow, time flies. Oh my gosh. Yes.
She is a victim of this virus. And she and her mother and her sister, who ill from it,
lost her mother.
Lost her mother. And this was aired on one of the news programs, maybe a week or two ago. We're going to have an extensive interview with her next week, God willing, and she'll be beaming from her house straight to all of our audience. So please, everybody, stay tuned and get some pointers from her, because she has some very critical things to spell out to people on the characteristics of and the results of being a victim of this virus. So just stay tuned for next Monday at 6 p.m. It's going to be critical with the information that she's going to be propagating.
Exactly.
So quick pause on that word, because April loves that word, propagate.
Because that's your favorite word. That's your favorite word. My mind is blown, y'all. The month of May is gone. We're in the last week of May. May was a blur.
That's right.
Total blur. June 1st, we're 6 months into 2020. This is incredible.
Well, it happens that way when you reach 40. So we'll see you all next.
I wouldn't know
See you
anything
next
about
week.
that.
Thanks so much,
I wouldn't know
Don Kahn from work coming and Lester.
Thank you for
11
having us.
Thank you. I love to have y'all
Yeah.
here. We appreciate
Right,
it.
absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
We're gonna
right.
roll on out, Brother Edward. Everyone take care.
Kick it off, April.
Bye-bye.
Kick it off, April, with our
Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.